Hello everyone and welcome to our next maths lesson, which is focusing on dividing two-digit numbers by one-digit numbers. So we did look at this last week, so we're just going to practice it today to try and master this concept. So our word of the day is groups. And you might be thinking about the work that we did on Friday, so putting our numbers into groups. So 28 divided by 7, how many groups of 7 can you make from 28? You'd make 4, because 4 times 7 is 28. So the LI should be up there for the whole time. I've still forgotten to change that for multiplication. Hopefully I'll remember for the next PowerPoint, but it is still to do with multiplication, I suppose, so it's not too big a mistake. Okay, so our warm-up questions are here. So 8,293 times 7 is the first question. 9,573 times 23 is the second question. So the first one is a short multiplication. Second one is the long multiplication, where you're going to have to remember your placeholder when you move into multiplying by the tens. So just pause the video and have a go at that question now. Okay, let's move through this and have a look at the answers. So the answer for question 1 is 58,051. And the answer for question 2 is 220,179. So well done if you got those. If not, maybe have another go and see if you can figure out where you went wrong. Okay, so another countdown to warm up here. So our target number is 917. Those are the 6 numbers you have, and you know how it works now. So have a go at reaching that target with those 6 numbers, using them one time each. Okay, so hopefully you've had a go at that. You've paused the video and seen how close you can get to it. Let's have a look at how my method got us to 917. Okay, so I've just got a number here, the target number and the 6 numbers. So I'll do what I did previously and check them off when I use them. So I've got 50 times 9, so we'll just cross those out as I've used them. So 5 times 9 is 45, and if I times that by 10, it's going to be 450. 450 add 10 is 460. 460 times 2 is 920, because 46 times 2 is 92, times 10 is 920. Then I've got a 4 take away 1, so I've used my last 2 numbers, so hopefully I'll get there. 4 take away 1 is 3, and then 920 minus 3 is 970. So that is just one way you can get there. There are quite a few other ways that you could have got there. So well done if you got there or got really close. Okay, so our last bit of warm up here is these 4 questions. So you know the drill. So pause the video, have a go at those 4 questions, and then come back to see what the answers are. Okay, let's have a look. So 21 divided by 7. So thinking about 7 times table here. 7 times what is 21? Oh, I'm using a pen, that's why. So 7 times 3 is 21. Then if we're looking at 22 divided by 7, if you get 3 whole groups of 7, when you divide 21 by 7, and now you've only got 1 more, it's only possible that you're going to get 3 groups, because you haven't got 1 more group of 7, because that would be 28. So you're going to have 3 groups with 1 left over. So if I quickly go through that using my grouping method, so 22 divided by 7, let's put my 22 things in groups of 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So here you can see the 3 groups of 21. 22, you can see you've got 3 groups with 1 left over. So you'd say 22 divided by 7 is 3, remainder 1. We've got our floating numbers again. Then we have 34 divided by 7. So how many 7s go into 34? So you might like to think about this going through your 7 times table. So you go 7, 14, 21, 28, 35, which gives us the answer to the next one. So 7 times 5 is 35. We've got one less than 35. So if we had 28, we'd have 4 lots of 7. So I'm just going to take a little shortcut here and imagine I've done 28 divided by 7, which I know is 4, because 4 times 7 is 28. If I did my dots, I get 4 groups of 7, and I'll have 6 left over. So 28 taken away from 34 is 6. So I'm going to have 4 groups of 7, remainder 6. And the last one we talked about is 5. So let's put my arrows in because we've got our floaty numbers again. Okay, let's move on to our learning for the day. Now we've done our warm-up activities. So our first question we're going to look at is 75 divided by 6. So we're going to look at this using our place value columns. So as you can see, I've got 7 tens, 5 ones. I'm dividing by 6. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. I want to try and put that equally in there. So let's see what we do first. We divide our tens. So if we divide our 7 tens in 6 groups, we can get 6 of those tens into equal groups with 1 left over. Because if we have 7 divided by 6, you've got 1 group of 6 with 1 left over. What do you think we need to do with that 10? Do we just throw it away? Do we just stop there and say the answer is 6? Or do we exchange our 1 10 for 10 ones? So now you can see the 10 ones we've got here and the 5 ones we had before. So we're going to divide those by 6. So how many groups of 6 have we got here? So I'm going to draw on this, and then it's going to animate, and it will probably choose different ones to what I have selected. So we've got 1 group of 6 there. Group of 6 there. They've shortchanged us. Or have they? Right, so I've got my groups of 6. So I've got 2 groups of 6. They haven't shortchanged us. I've just miscounted, I believe. No, I've got a 15 there. It's counting wrong. Right, anyway, I'm distracting myself. Okay, so we have 2 groups of 6 there. Which are going to go in because we've got our 12 in our 2 groups of 6. And then we've got 3 left over. So the answer is going to be 12 remainder 3. So I'm just going to run through that because let's just get rid of that. Come back here again. Okay, so we have, if I come back to this point because I got a little sidetracked there and distracted. So we've got our 15 ones, and if I'm dividing those into groups of 6, I have 1 group of 6. And then I have another group of 6. So that can go in 2 times, so 2 in each group. I'm going to have 3 left over. In each row, I've got 1 10 and 2 1s, so that is 12. And then I've got 3 left over, so that means there's 12 in each group, and there's 3 left over. Okay, so we've got 2 questions here. So have a think about this and how you're going to approach it. I would recommend pausing the video, having a go at those, and then watching the video again to see how we've done it. Okay, so this is the first one. This is 53 divided by 3. So what we've done here is we have divided the tens into groups of 3. So how many times can you share 50 into 3? So if you've got 3 groups, you can only put 3 tens in. So if I have my 5 tens, you can see that there's 1 group of 3. We have our 1 group of 3 there, and then we'd have 2 tens left over. And what they've done here is they've exchanged it into 21, so we don't just have 3 ones now, we have 23 ones, and that's what we've done here. So I've showed that we've used the 30 because they'll divide equally into 3 groups, 10 in each group, and then what we're left over is 23. So we're going to divide our 23 by 3. How many 3s in 23? So we know that 3 times 7 is 21. So we've got 7 in this group, 7 in this group, 7 in this group. So we would use 21. And then we'd have 2 left over. And then if we look what's in each group, we have 10, 7 ones, so we've got 17, and then we've got 2 left over. Okay, so we will look at this in a different method as well, not using the place value counters and the whole model. So let me get rid of that because I believe we're going to have a look at the next question. So we have 64 divided by 5. So as you can see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 groups that we're putting it into. We had our 6 tens. 6 tens divided by 5 is 1. Because 5 times 1 is 5, and there's 1 left over. So we've got our 5 tens in there, 1 in each group. That means that if we had 6 tens and we used 5 of them, so 6 take away 5, we're going to have 1 10 left over. And the eagle-eyed amongst you would have noticed there's not just 4 ones left. We've got the 10 ones plus the 4 ones. That means they've exchanged that 110 for, a bit confusing because I exchanged it already, that 110 for 10 ones. So that 110 does become 10 ones there. And then you divide 10 by 5. 5 times 2 is 10, so 2 in each group. And then you've got these 4 left over, and we call those remainders. So 12 remainder 4. Okay, so what they've done here is they've shown what they can divide by 5 equally here. So that's the 50. 50 divided by 5 is 10. Then they're looking at the ones over here. How many 5s can you get in there? There's 2 5s that you can share equally. So 5 times 2 is 10, and then you've got 4 left over. So that's just a different way of looking at it. The next question we look at is 17 divided by 5. So let's look at this one. So we have our 1 10 and our 7 1s, and we want to see how many 5s we can get from there. So if you have 1 10, can you share it equally into 5 groups? What do you need to exchange it? Because if you've only got one thing, you can't share it with 5, and you can't put it into a group of 5. So what we need to do is exchange our 10 for 10 ones, and then we're looking at putting it into groups of 5. So how many groups of 5 have we got there? So we can count 5s. So how many 5s have we got? So we've got 1 5. I'm just going to rub that out because you see here I've not gone over the edge, so I reckon I might miss that. So let's 1 5, 2 5s, 3 5s, 2 left over. That means there's going to be 17 divided by 5. 15 is 5 times 3, so it's going to be 3 in each of those groups. And you'll notice that there are 2 left over. So it's going to be 3, because there's 3 in each group when you divide it by 5. Remainder 2. Let's have a look at 25 divided by 3. So I've got my 2 10s and my 5 1s, and I want to make groups of 3. Can I make a group of 3 out of this? I cannot, because there's only 2 in there. So what do we need to do with the 2 10s? You need to exchange them for 1s. So 2 10s is 20 1s. Then I'm looking to see how many groups of 3 there are here, or how many times you can share it. So I'm going to try it slightly differently now. So you can, if you want to pause it and count up how many groups of 3 you've got there, you can do that. But I'm just going to try a slightly different way here. I'm going to go through my times tables. So if I go through my threes, I've got 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24. So 8 times 3 is 24. So I know there's going to be 8 ones in each of these groups. So you can see from this. I had 25 though, and I only used 24, which explains why there's this one left over. So 25 divided by 3 is going to be 8, because there's 8 in each row or group. Remainder, 1. Okay, so this one says 55 divided by 5 is 11. 56 divided by 5 is 11, remainder 1. 57 divided by 5 is 11, remainder 2. 58 divided by 5 is 11, remainder 3. 59 divided by 5 is 11, remainder 4. 60 divided by 5 is 11, remainder 5. Is that true? Let's have a little think about that. So I zoom back through those. So 55 divided by 5 is 11, because 11 times 5 is 55. 56 divided by 5 is 11, remainder 1, because 11 times 5 is 55. 56 is 1 bigger than that, and you can't put that into a group of 5, so you're going to have 1 remainder. And we've just increased it by 1 here, and that's the next group of 5 up from 55. I think my 5 times today was 60, so if I write that down, the next group of 5 is 60. That's when I can get a whole group of 5 out of it. So here I'm going to have 1 remainder, here I'm going to have 2 left over, so 2 remainders. Here I'm going to have 3 remainders, because 5 times 11 is 55. 58 minus 55 is remainder 3. 59 divided by 5 is going to be 11, remainder 4, because there's 4 left over. And then we've got 60 divided by 5 is 11, and a remainder of 5. If you look at that, and it's saying we're looking for groups of 5. Can you have a remainder of 5, or could you put that in a group? So this is just saying, let's have a look at this. So I've got 60. If I divide that by 5, I've got 1 group of 5, so 10 in each of my groups. Then my 110 can't be shared equally 5 times, so I'm going to have to exchange that for ones. I've got 10 ones, so if I've got 5 groups, how many ones are going to be in there? So I've got 5 groups, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I've got 5 groups, and there's 2 in each group. So it's not got a remainder, so we just need to be careful there. If we're using a method where we're going up by 1 each time, if we've got a remainder of what we're dividing by, then we're going to have an extra group. So the remainder must be smaller than the number you're dividing by. So here, 4, 3, 2, and 1, they're all smaller than 5. 5 isn't smaller than 5, so it has to go into the main groups. Okay, so I want you to pause this slide and have a think about these questions. It says the remainder must be smaller than a divisor. When we divide by 7, the largest remainder we can have is what? When we divide by 4, the largest remainder we can have is what? When we divide by 36, the largest remainder we can have is what? So if we remember, when we divided by 5, the largest remainder was 4. If we divided by 3, the largest remainder would be 2. So have a think how we can use that information to work this out. So just pause the video and have a go at that. Right, let's have a look through here. Little reminder there. So the largest remainder when we divide by 7 is 6, because if the remainder was 7, then we could share that equally by 7. We could put it into a group of 7. When we divide by 4, the largest remainder we have is, I'm going to write that in, because it's hovered, is 3. Because if the remainder was 4, you could share it equally into 4 groups, and you wouldn't have any remainders. So the large one is 3, and this is going to be hugely off the line. When we divide by 36, the largest remainder is 35, because if the remainder was 36, it would go into a group of 36. Okay, so this is a point where you can pause the video and have a go at questions 1 to 4 before I go through a little bit more on this subject in the next questions. So do that if you want, if not, continue listening. Okay, so we've got some word problems here. So it's exactly the same skill, just picking out the numbers from the sentences. Apples are packed in bags of 8. There we go, we have 8 apples. Dexter has 91 apples. How many bags does Dexter need so that every apple is in a bag? So you need to do some dividing here. Have a little think what you're going to do. I'm going to use those numbers. So in which order am I going to divide? I've got 91 apples in total. They come in bags of 8. How many bags does he need? Every apple to be in a bag. So we need to do 91 divided by 8. So how many 8s in 91? So we're just zooming over here to look at this in place value columns. Before we do it in place value columns, I know a lot of you like doing bus stop, which is absolutely fine. It's how I tend to do it when I'm doing dividing. So I'm just going to put that there, and I'll go through this first, because if I go through it at the same time, I can pretty much guarantee that this will get covered with place value counters as soon as I just start doing it. So let's go through this one and then go through this one, and you can decide which one you like best. So how many 8s go into 9? That is 1, because 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16, so that's bigger than 9, so it can't be that. Another way we can look at it, if I've got 9 things, I put it into groups of 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can see you've got one group of 8. That's 1 left over. You also, if you're just using your times tables, 8 times 1 is 8. You had 9. You take away 8. You've got 1 left over. Now I've got how many 8s in 11? Once again, that is 1, because 8 times 1 is 8. 8 times 2 is 16, which is bigger than that, so it cannot be 2. If I had 11 things and I used 8 of them, I would have 3 left over. What I'm going to do here is just use the same work that we just done, because I know I've got one group of 8 there, and that was 8 things. Then I've got 9, 10, 11, and you can see I've got 3 left over with one group. So that's just using the bus stop model. I'm just going to rub that out because, as I said, there's probably going to be some place value counters falling on top of it. Now, here we go. So we have 9 10s and 1 1. If I'm dividing my 9 10s into to share equally into 8, then I'm going to have 1 in each group if it's equal groups. So there's 8 that have been used, and I've got 1 that hasn't been used, and you should know if you can't share it, you're going to have to exchange it. So I'm going to exchange my 10 there into 10 1s. So you can see I've got 11. I've used my 80. I've got 11 left over. Exchange my 10 for 10 1s. Then I'm looking how many groups of 8 have I got there. So that's 8. 1 group of 8, that means I've got 1 in each of these. Obviously it chooses different counters, and then I've got 3 left over. So exactly the same as using the bus stop method, so you can use that method if you want to. Okay, so this is the tricky bit of the question. If we had 11 bags, remember the question said every apple has to be in a bag. If we only had 11 bags, we would only have 8 times 11 apples in bags, which means 88 apples, and I'd have 3 apples without a bag, and we can't have that, so we need 1 extra bag so that all those apples are in a bag. Okay, so your activity is on Teams and Tapestry. Have a go at that. If you get stuck, maybe try a different method. You might like using the place value columns with the counters. Instead of counters, you can use dots. That's what I tend to do. If you don't like that method, you can use the bus stop method and your times table knowledge. Okay, good luck with that. Let us know how you get on, and I look forward to speaking to you soon.